When we use the word, we'd usually think of a person who has no regard for human life and intentionally hurts other people, taking away their right to life. If someone brings up the word, each of us will have a specific example in mind. Usually it's a real person who existed in the world. I'm not going to mention any names because even though I too have some specific people in mind whenever I think of the term, it'd be wrong to just slap that label on someone because it feels like I'm virtue signaling in a sense. And I probably would be virtue signaling. I'll also be doing that a lot in this video, as you shall see. Because unfortunately there's a very high chance that you and I are not so different from those serial murderers. I'd even venture to say that we're identical. How? Judging from the quote at the start of the video, I think you can sort of guess where I'm going with this. Even though we don't kill humans, or maybe some of us are convicted of homicide, I don't know. But even if we haven't killed a human being before, we have taken the lives of things that are not human. And the list of victims is potentially very, very long. Let's start with something obvious. How many meals have you had in your life? I'd like you to find a calculator, then take your age number and multiply by 365, plus the average number of meals you have every day. If you're like other normal humans, you probably eat every day, and possibly multiple times a day as well. I'm pretty young, so my number ends up at around 28,000. Got your result? That's how many animals you've eaten in your life up to this point. Chickens, pigs, cows, fish, crustaceans, etc. If your diet varies and you eat different foods every day like I do, then that number would be a pretty good approximation, even if it's not accurate. We both buy our meat from the supermarket, so we don't have to actually kill the animal. But that doesn't change the fact that someone else had to do the dirty work, just so we can have the source of nutrition we require every day. Maybe one chicken is divided into many sections and shared by many people, because you don't eat an animal whole but only a small part of it. That doesn't change the fact that if the chicken didn't exist and didn't have to die, we wouldn't be eating anything in the first place. As long as we engage in the act of eating itself, we're part of the problem. So what are you trying to say, you might ask? Is this another one of those instances where you push veganism by shaming us for eating meat? I already told you I'm also part of the problem by showing you my own number. But the reality of it is that the violence doesn't simply stop at the meat eating, but is also present in other parts of our lives as well. The next section on our list is equally as impressive in scale as the first one, and it's vegetables. How many carrots, tomatoes, and cabbages have you eaten in your life? If you care about health and eat your greens responsibly, the number might also stack up pretty high. I guess you can say that vegetables aren't necessarily sentient beings, since they don't have a nervous system or a brain, thus are incapable of feeling pain, which means it's safe to assume that we can eat them. And you're probably right about the part of plants not being able to experience pain. Pain is just a combination of chemicals and electrical signals produced by the brain. It doesn't really exist. When we step on a Lego, for example, the tissues on our foot are damaged, but the pain that we feel is completely made up by the brain. The brain creates the sensation of immense pain to remind itself not to let the body step on the piece of Lego in the future, because it will cause the foot to lose skin tissues. Pain is just a survival mechanism in the animal kingdom that helps keep us alive and healthy. If we put our hand on a stove and can't feel anything, we'll lose our hands pretty fast. If losing a body part causes immense suffering, at least we'll actively try to keep them out of harm's way. The bad news is that vegetables don't feel pain, but they do respond to different stimuli in the world around them. Plants have been proven to respond to light, temperature, touch, and whatnot. Some plant cells produce ultrasonic frequencies when they're damaged. Others send signals to different parts of the plant so they can get ready to speed up regeneration in those areas when the damage reaches them. Plants may not sense pain the same way that we do since they don't possess a nervous system or pain receptors. A tree won't howl in pain and squirm on the ground when we chop them down with an axe. But the fact that they react to the world around them is proof that they are very complex biological systems with their own survival agendas. The fact that plants respond to painful stimuli means that they're living organisms that want to live, or at least they have a survival mechanism that's built deeply inside of them, keeping them alive and preventing them from dying instead of being consumed by the animals in the ecosystem. And when we kill a plant so that we can eat it, we're effectively taking away their right to life. You might say that plants don't have consciousness, that they don't experience existence and the concept of self like we do. I can say the same thing about us as well. When we sleep, our body is technically alive. Our heart still pumps blood into our veins. Our brains still produce brainwave frequencies. Yet we aren't really conscious when we're sleeping. We're not actively experiencing life. We don't even know that we exist. But the world around us remains, and the FBI agent patiently sits by our side, waiting for us to wake up through the computer webcam. Would it be right to say that during such moments we don't possess consciousness, since we don't experience consciousness? Just like how plants aren't really alive since they don't know that they exist. If that's the case, then why is it okay to eat a plant, but not a sleeping human being? You already know that like any other biological life forms on this planet, plants also have their own lifespans. Some plants can live for a day, a week, or a year, while others can last for thousands of years. When we're born into this world, we all desire to be able to live in maximal comfort, to experience as much happiness as we can, and to live as long as we can. We all want to die from natural causes. The last thing we'd want is to be killed by our own or by another species, let alone be eaten alive by something else. Yet you and I don't even think twice when we enjoy that one bunch of lettuce or that one tomato for dinner. We get to choose the way we want to die, but other living organisms don't have a say on the matter. If you're going to agree with me and accept that plants are also capable of dying, you can make your own estimate of how many plants you eat throughout the week, and add that to the number of animals you've consumed. My number should be over 56,000 since I eat a lot of greens, so I'm not too proud of myself either. But does it mean we should stop eating and starve so that we won't have murder weighing on our conscience? Sadly, no, since death won't really solve anything. If you're familiar with the things I talk about on this channel, you should know that I believe in the idea that death doesn't really exist. But even if we only live once, when we die, the cells in our bodies will just go on to form other organisms that will face the same existential problems that we're facing today. And the process will repeat itself until the end of time. That won't change the fact that the ecosystem is messed up. We literally have to kill other organisms just so we could live for another day and have a few more hours in our lives. And we have to do that every day. You might not believe in Christianity, but if the Bible is right about anything at all, it should be this: the idea that we are all sinners. We might not like it. We might deny it outright, but I'm showing you the truth. We're all sinners. We're sinners not by choice, but by design. We've become sinners the moment we're given life in a world where one can only live off the death of other beings. A world where life emerges against its own will and is doomed to sustain itself in all possible forms for all eternity. But the killing doesn't stop at just fish and plants. Let us now explore some other things we do kill, not for food, but for our own safety and comfort. How many bugs have you killed? How many ants have you squashed under your feet? How many cockroaches and mites have you sprayed with pesticides? At least one ant dies in my house every day. Sometimes I catch an ant climbing on top of my leg whenever I sit on the ground for too long. Since ants are so small, it's very difficult not to kill them by accident. The only way to not kill that ant is to pick it up with my index and thumb and shake out my hand with enough force so that the ant won't be able to cling on, then hopefully fall off. If I smear my finger on a flat surface like a table, the chance that I'll crush the ant is very high. A regular human might be huge compared to one of these tiny insects, but our tremendous size ends up being our own downfall in that we can do nothing to avoid killing them when we want to do so, since they're so delicate and small. You might say that it's okay to kill bugs because bugs are gross and shouldn't be treated as an equal. It's very easy to look down on bugs and think that it's okay to kill them because they're so small, and you won't be hearing them scream when you decide to step on them. But you should know that if one day, for some inexplicable reason, the planets become alive and start moving around, they'll be making the exact same excuse as they squash us with their mass. How would we feel if Saturn starts treating us like how we'd treat a bug? Just because bugs are small doesn't mean that we and them are fundamentally different, and that we somehow get the right to decide whether they get to live or die. Other than physical appearance, there is no difference between a human being and an insect. We both eat, breed, and engage in the daily grind. The only reason why we have to kill them is the same reason why we have to shoot down a wild lion when we're stuck in the middle of the tropical jungle. Because they threaten our survival, just like how we threaten theirs. And they will bring diseases that make us sick if we let them near us for too long. But that will never change the fact that murder is murder no matter what form it takes. And it's a sentence we all have to carry whether we like it or not. By the way, A lot of studies show that many species of insects are capable of experiencing pain. Not only do some of these insects, like fruit flies and cockroaches, feel pain when we hurt them, their injured body parts are also subject to chronic pain even after recovery, and they become extra careful when dealing with these regions in their bodies, similar to how you become extra conscious of your grazed knee after falling off the bike. In other words, they're afraid of physical pain just as much as you're afraid of having your tooth removed by a dentist. I don't know what to do with this information, just like everything else in this video. But it's better to be able to know our own evil than to live a lie, you know? Now that we've covered all life forms we kill that we can see, it's time to talk about the ones that we don't see. Bacteria are a thing. According to an article, the average floor contains about 764 bacteria per square inch. That's around 1,270,000 per square meter. Every time you take a step forward when you walk, every time you scratch your arm, every time you cook food, or every time you wash your hands or shower, a lot of bacteria die off. Even the hand sanitizer bottle on your shelf promotes genocide with the promise of killing 99% bacteria, printed in bold right in the center of the label. You can't even sit down without squashing thousands of germs with your weight. I'm not exaggerating, although bacteria are very small. An ant to a bacterium is like a kilometer-long road to a grain of sand. And although bacteria, even on very flat surfaces, can hide under the micro-grooves of these surfaces when we step on them, there's always a chance that some extremely small parts of our body will be able to reach and crush a large number of these bacteria. They also float in the air as well, so any movement of your arms, legs, or any other body parts will also lead to unseen casualties. But microorganisms aren't conscious, right? They're like blobs of salt water that move around and do nothing. They don't have a nervous system and can't feel pain. They probably don't even know that they exist, similar to plants, although they can still move around and multiply. Bacteria, like many other types of microorganisms, also have touch receptors that help them feel the world around them. I hear that they do have some kind of a nervous system, although it is extremely basic. The body of an amoeba is the brain in and of itself, and the brain has only one or very few neural pathways. When a predator organism consumes another organism alive and secretes digestive fluid, the smaller organism will jerk around violently when coming into contact with the fluid because its body is being damaged. This type of instinctual reaction is an indicator that these microorganisms can feel pain, and there's a chance that their experience is similar to how we experience physical pain. An amoeba can't sweat profusely, shed tears, philosophize, or curse its creator when its pain receptors get activated. But the way that we respond to bodily wounds is identical, so it's safe to say that they can also feel pain like we do. When it comes to physical pain, our nerves can emulate two sensations of pain, a sharp pain and a dull pain, to let us know that the cells of our body are being damaged. And microorganisms have the exact same feature as well. You might argue that their reaction to painful stimuli is just a natural reaction, like how water turns to ice under low temperature. The microorganisms don't actually feel anything. Believe me, I'm also hoping for that possibility to be true as well. But if we look at the situation from an evolutionary perspective, it just wouldn't make sense. Pain is designed by nature to preserve the bodies of those that can experience it. If you can't feel pain, you'll never have the need to protect your own body, which means you'll die, and your species go extinct very quickly. Microorganisms actually have a degree of intelligence to them. They develop their own strategies for hunting prey, as well as escaping predators. If a being shows any degree of intelligence and can make decisions on its own, then it, even without having the notion of the self, can still experience existence, which means its reaction to pain is not just a reaction independent from it, but can also be experienced by the host. If it turns out that microorganisms can actually feel pain, we're talking about suffering on a very large scale, bigger than the animals and the plants combined, since everything evolved from and is made of germs. But even if microorganisms can't feel pain, it doesn't mean you have the right to take away its right to exist. What if you were born as a germ on the floor of your bathroom, and your current human parents just completely annihilated you with detergent, sweeping away and not knowing that you even exist? How does that make you feel? I'll be honest with you. This universe feels like some kind of hardcore dark fantasy sometimes, because it is. Turn on the news, watch some wild documentaries, and look under some microscopes, and you'll be able to confirm this idea for yourself. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of years, science might discover that atoms are sentient and can feel pain. Maybe even quarks and wave particles can suffer as well. The phenomenon will probably be termed quantum CBT or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to lighten up the mood because this is just too depressing. No one has the right to take away the life of another living being. Yet we have to do it. And we have to do it a lot if we want to keep on living. And that's the reality of things. Or is it? The things I've been telling you in this video are relative truths. In the eyes of God, all relative truths are lies. In a sense, what I've been telling you are lies. Very convincing lies, but lies nonetheless. So suffering's everywhere around you. What can you do about it? Nothing. There's nothing for us to do. The only thing you can do in your day-to-day living is to be grateful for the animals, plants, insects, microbes, and all other life forms for their sacrifices. Remind yourself each day that these beings have to die so that you can live and be grateful. That's it. Whenever you start to feel bad for them, remember that everything is a false representation of the absolute reality. Do not look down on or feel pity for the existence of an amoeba, because ultimately you're looking at God. And God has all the answers, so don't you worry. Another thing that you can do is turn to non-dual teachings in the world like Buddhism, Advaita, Zen, Sufism, Jainism, and so on, because they uphold the absolute truth. Just because suffering feels real doesn't mean that it has to be the ultimate reality for anyone or any being. I know I said that the real and the unreal are identical, but that's only on a relative level. If we do not desire or seek the truth, we will continue to live in delusion and separation as sinners. Now that we know we're all sinners, what else is there to do but pray?